Good morning, monkeys. I'm very sorry it's been such a long time since I sent you a chapter. It's been very, very busy around here for work, and it's right in the middle of summer now, so the weather is very nice. So let's catch up a little, shall we? Um, where are we? Where are we? So we're going on to chapter 20. The chapter is called Off to Dame Snap's School. When we last saw the guys, they got stuck in the land of Take What You Want, and then Joe found a plane. Um, so everybody piled into the plane, and they were just about to take off. So, chapter 20 Off to Dame Snap's School. Joe flew the aeroplane very well indeed. As soon as he was high enough, he pressed straight on, and the shiny airplane flew forward. The children leaned over the side to see what they were flying over. They had soon passed the land of Take What You Want and come to a strange, desolate country where no trees or no grass grew, and not a house was to be seen. That's the country of loneliness, said Moonface, peering over. Don't land there, Joe. Just fly on. Joe flew on. Once he came to an enormous hill, and he had to quickly press the handle marked up, or the airplane would have flown straight into it. But otherwise, it was really great fun. Joe had no idea how easy it was to fly. The little white goat on Beth's knee was as good as gold. It licked Beth's cheek every now and then, and just as if it was a dog. The hens were good and quiet, and the clock lay perfectly still. The aeroplane flew over the land of great towers and castles. Giant land, said Silky, looking in wonder at the enormous buildings. I hope we don't land there. Rather not, said Joe, and he pressed the straight-on handle down a little further so that the aeroplane flew forward like a bird, faster and faster. The children's hair streamed backwards, and as for Silky's mop of golden hair, it looked like a field of buttercups blowing in the wind. Over the land of Lollipop they went, and then over the country of Flop. What do you think the country of Flop would be? I don't know. And then the aeroplane began to make a funny noise. Hello, said Joe. What's wrong? I believe the aeroplane is tired, said Moonface. It sounds out of breath. Don't be silly, Moonface, said Joe. Aeroplanes don't get out of breath. Well, this kind do, said Moonface. Can't you hear it panting? It certainly seems as if the aeroplane was panting. It went. We had better get down and give it a rest, said Joe. Yes, said Moonface, peering over the side. It seems safe enough. I don't know what this land is, but it looks quite ordinary. There's a big green house down below with an enormous garden. Perhaps you could land it on the smooth lawn. It shouldn't get too bumpy then. Right, said Joe, and pressed the handle mark down. And down they went, gliding smoothly. Bump! They landed and reached the grass, and the aeroplane's wheels ran along the grass. It stopped, and everyone got out, glad to stretch their legs. 10 minutes rest, and the aeroplane will be ready to go off again, said Moonface, patting it. I wonder where we are, said Silky, looking round. Moonface gazed at the big green house in the distance. Oh, excuse me, guys. Moonface gazed at the big green house in the distance, and then he frowned. Oh my, I know whose house this is. It's a school, and it belongs to old Dame Snap. All those naughty pixies and gnomes and fairies are sent there to learn how to behave better. Let's hope Dame Snap doesn't come and catch us. Everyone looked about nervously, and suddenly down the pathway came an old woman with large spectacles on. There's Dame Snap. She looks quite strict and fierce, doesn't she? She had a long nose and a big white bonnet on her head. Moonface ran to the aeroplane. Quick, he said, it's Dame Snap. But the old lady was up to them before they could escape. Aha, she said. So here's another lot of naughty folk sent to me to be cured. Come this way, please. She sounds a bit scary, actually. We haven't been sent to you, said Joe. We landed here to give our aeroplane a rest. We're on our way home. Naughty boy telling stories like that, said Dame Snap suddenly, in such a loud and frightening voice that it made him jump. Come with me, all of you. I think I make a good Dame Snap voice. What do you guys think? Maybe I'm too strict. There didn't seem to be anything else they could do, so Joe, Beth, Franny, Moonface, and Silky, the white goat, the 7 hens, and the clock. Oh, the white hens followed Dame Snap, looking very miserable. The clock wouldn't walk, so Silky had to carry it. Everyone felt very hungry. Joe pulled Dame. Ooh, sorry, guys. It's quite early in the morning. It's quite early in the morning, and I've had a really long week. So everyone felt very hungry. Joe pulled Dame Snap's sleeve timidly. "Could we please have something to eat?" he asked. "A meal will be ready in a few minutes," said Dame Snap. "Heads up, everybody. Don't stoop, little girl," snapped the old woman. The little girl she meant was poor Franny, who got such a fright she stood up straight. Really, Dame Snap was not a nice person at all. But everybody cheered up a little at the thought of a meal. They were taken into a large hall full of pixies and other fairy folk. They were sitting in rows down wooden tables, but stood up when Dame Snap came into the room. "Sit over there," said Dame Snap, pointing to an empty table. The children, Moonface, Silky, the goat, and the hens all took their places. The clock stood at the end, looking very, very sulky. The children looked down the tables. Oh, what lovely cakes! What big jugs of lemonade! Dame Snap ran her eyes over the little folk standing at the tables. She frowned. "Twinkle, come here," she snapped. A small pixie walked up to her. "Haven't I told you to brush your hair properly for meal times?" shouted Dame Snap so loudly in Twinkle's ear that he burst into tears. "And there's Doodle over there with a torn shirt," said Dame Snap. "Come here, Doodle." Doodle came and was shouted at very loudly indeed. Beth and Franny felt very nervous and hoped their hair and hands and dresses were all clean and tidy. "Sit," said Dame Snap, and everybody sat. "Have a cake," said Joe, and passed Beth and Franny a plate of delicious-looking cakes with cherries in the middle. But what a shock for them! As soon as the cake touched their plates, they turned into round, hard pieces of stale bread. The children didn't dare say a word. They saw that the same thing happened to everyone in the room except Dame Snap, who had marvellous meal of cakes, lemonade, and sandwiches. The lemonade turned into water as soon as it was poured into the children's glasses. It was all dreadfully disappointing. In the middle of the meal, a gnome servant came in to say that somebody wanted to speak to Dame Snap, and she went out of the room. And then, dear me, the children found that all the pixies and fairies in the room were very naughty indeed. They crowded round them and jabbed them and pinched them and made such rude remarks that Franny began to cry. They made such a noise that nobody heard Dame Snap coming back in again. My goodness, wasn't she angry? She clapped her hands together and made everybody jump out of their skin. "What's all this?" she snapped loudly in a very fierce voice. "Form up in a line, march past me at once." To the children's dismay, the cross old lady shouted right in everyone's ear as they passed. But when they passed her, she didn't shout at them, for she knew they had been teased by the others. So they were very glad indeed, and they felt a little more cheerful. "Go to the schoolroom," said Dame Snap, when the last of the line had gone by. So to the schoolroom they all went, took their places, even the little green-winged hens. "Now please answer the question written on the blackboard," said Dame Snap. "You've each got a paper and pencil. Anyone putting down the wrong answers will be very sorry indeed." Joe looked at the questions on the board. He read them to the others in great astonishment. "If you take away 3 caterpillars from 1 bush, how many berries will there be left?" What? "Add a pint of milk to a pound of peas and say what will be left over." "If a train runs at 6 miles an hour and has to pass under 4 tunnels, say what the driver's mother is likely to have for dinner on Sundays." These are the silliest questions I've ever heard of. Everybody gazed at the board in despair. Whatever did the questions mean? They just seemed to be nonsense. "I can't do any," said Moonface in a loud voice, and he threw down his pencil. "This is silly nonsense," said Joe, and he threw down his pencil too. The girls did the same, and Silky tore her paper in half. All the pixie folk stared at them in the greatest astonishment and horror. "Indeed," said Dame Snap. suddenly looking twice as big as usual. If that's how you feel, come with me. Nobody wanted to go with her, but they found that they had to, for their legs walked for them. Their legs walked for them after Dame Snap without them even trying. It was most extraordinary. Dame Snap led them to a small room and pushed them all in, and then shut the door with a slam and turned the key in the lock. You will stay there for 3 hours, and then I will come and see if you are sorry, she snapped. Oh, this is awful, said Joe gloomily. She's no right to keep us here. We don't belong in her silly school. We haven't even been naughty. It was just an accident that we came here. Well, what are we to do now, said Silky, pushing back her golden hair. It seems as if we have to stay here for 3 hours and then say we're sorry and be shouted at again. I don't like it at all. Nobody liked it. They all sat on the floor and looked angry and miserable. If only they could escape from Dame Snap's silly old school. And that, my lovelies, is the end of the chapter. That's quite a fun chapter. I quite like Dame Snap. Maybe it's because I'm naturally very, very bossy. That's why I like Dame Snap, and I like to be shouting at everybody. I'm also very lovely though, so don't forget that. All right, guys. I will try and send another chapter soon. I love you guys loads, and I miss you this much. And I hope that you are being good, and that you're being nice to mum and dad, and that you're having some very good adventures. I'll speak to you soon. Love you guys. Bye.